Have we got a show for you today? I have brought on my first guest, and it has been an evening of trial and error, which has led to the topic of tonight, which is the frustration of being a beginner. I'm Xena. I'm your host, and welcome to the Fit Goddess podcast. I am an online fitness trainer for women. I am an online fitness trainer, nutrition coach, and mindset coach, helping women achieve the body of their dreams outside of the diet culture paradigm and restrictive mindset. And I have today with me my posing coach, Tara. And we had a discussion tonight that what we wanted to cover in January here was about being a beginner, because when people are beginning, they can often think that it is easy for the people who have been a little further down the path. And as I talked about in my last episode about capacity, which if you haven't listened to that, you should go back and take a listen. But I talked about how people, when they're starting, will often ask, how do you stay motivated, to the people that have been on the path a little while longer? And they'll often get pat answers like, well, you just need to stay consistent and you just need to stay disciplined, which is true. And also, there's a piece they're not telling you. And that's that at the beginning, that was also really hard for them as well. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And as a beginner doing a podcast, tonight has been a frustrating adventure. It's been a little crazy. And we were trying to get two mics rolling tonight and we couldn't. So we're using one, and hopefully that's going to work out. But it did bring to mind for myself, and I got to clear this leg here for my mic because it's rolling over the cord. Can you help me here, Tara? And
Guys, we all start somewhere.
And I'm starting here, and I'm being frustrated, and things aren't quite going to plan. And that can often be how it is at the beginning of a fitness journey. Like, you're trying to get started, and then, like, I don't know, your kid is sick all of a sudden and you can't get to the gym, or whatever it might be that is just giving you grief at the beginning. Or maybe you don't know how to do something, and it can be very frustrating at the beginning when you're trying to learn the things you need to learn to be successful. And I wanted to have Tara on because Tara is my posing coach, and Tara saw me looking like a crazy giraffe in heels the first time I was trying.
I transformed her.
She did. She transformed me into looking at least a little bit elegant on the stage.
Just a little bit.
And one of the things that I've learned is whenever we're doing something new, we need to allow that initial part to be a little messy and a little ugly if we're going to be successful with it. And I wanted to ask Tara if she could talk a little bit today about her own journey at the beginning, like where you struggled and where you found your success, and if you could tell us a little bit about how you started on your own fitness journey.
Okay, so just fitness in general, not
Right now,
necessarily
yeah.
posing. Okay. So yeah, I mean, in the beginning with, my fitness journey, I mean, you do have to stay disciplined to a certain extent to kind of jumpstart your, success in the beginning, right? But even me being someone who's now done this for 7 years, has done 7 bodybuilding competitions, has, worked out all this time, I've still been inconsistent the entire time, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand is, yes, I'm fit and, stay on track with everything that I do, but I'm also inconsistent a lot of the times, and it's just human. It's just being human. It's part of life, stuff happens. So I think people need to give themselves a little bit more grace and support and confidence in themselves. And they kind of have to realize that this is a lifelong journey. It's a lifestyle. This is not something that you're going to get into 6 months down the road, hit your goal, and just stop, So if I stayed absolutely 100% on my diet, 100% on my workouts, I would be far more ahead, than I am right now, which obviously I wish I would be, but I'm not going to sit there and beat myself up over it.
I think anytime we learn something new or we're trying to level up, there's going to be a certain level of falling down that's going to happen. We're not going to have it right out of the gate. Yeah. I didn't have it right out of the gate. When I started back to my fitness journey, there were times where I was really consistent and then there weren't. But when I really wanted to nail it, I understood that what I talked about in the last episode, capacity. And I said, if I overshoot my capacity and I'm trying to do way too much at the beginning, I'm kind of setting myself up for failure. So what could I commit to on the very smallest level every day. What's within reason to say I could do this thing every day? And it wasn't an hour at the gym at
Mhm.
the beginning. It was I can commit to doing 100 squats a day. That's where I started,
Mhm.
and that's what I committed to. And I made sure if I missed a day, I didn't miss two. But if I had committed to I have to do hour of working out every day, I probably would have missed that target right out of the gate.
So, and I've also been a personal trainer for a few years too. And I normally have an initial conversation with them before I even get them as a client. And, I ask them, how many days are you willing to come into the gym just to kind of see where their mindset is at? Some of them might say, oh, I want to come in 5, 6 days a week. That's great. Some of them say it's only two. That's what I can commit to. That's also great too. You have to know like your limitations, you have to know your lifestyle. And generally, what I would say back to most people, unless if you're someone that's willing to be all in 100%, if you say you're going to go to the gym 5, 6 days a week, everything else kind of has to be exact too, like diet, everything else on top of that, because you can go to the gym 5, 6 days a week and have your diet be shit and still not see results. You know what I mean? I more often than not tell them I would rather you come into the gym consistently 2 or 3 days a week, just getting back into it, and stay consistent with that for a few weeks. Let's like get your water up, just all these little like tweaks, right? Because I don't want it to feel so overwhelming for them in the beginning. And if you do really great consistently for a month, let's meet back and kind of go over everything and then see what else we can add on top of that. And usually by then, your body kind of adjusts, getting back into working out, getting past that sore phase, and then you're feeling good, you have more energy, and you actually want to come in that extra day. So now you're adding to your plate in a good way rather than taking away from it in a negative way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do too. I have a lot of people sometimes that start the boot camp and they want to get right away into the training. And one of the first places I guide them is we need to get that diet nailed down first. Let's build that consistency there because we can't out train a bad diet. And then I'll have clients that are really excited and they'll, well, oh, I can do 5 days a week. If they don't have experience with having done that in the past, I'll say, that's great. Let's grow there. But let's start at like maybe 3 days a week, right? Let's start there and then we can grow it from there because as much as our minds want to like jump ahead, we have to understand we haven't grown that muscle yet to hold the container for 5 days a week.
Yep. And even now, someone now like me, I work out, 4 or 5 days a week or whatever. I mean, I'm definitely a lot more in tune with my body. I mean, a little bit more receptive to being able to work out that many days. But still, like I said, just being able to listen to my body, take days off when I need it. You kind of figure out your own rhythm and your own schedule, what works best for you. There's no right or wrong answer. You don't have to work out 5 days in a row, take 2 days off. You don't have to work out 2 days in a row, take one day off. It's whatever works best for you and your schedule and your lifestyle. So you find time when you can find the time, whenever it works best.
And you're going to mess up. This is what I tell my clients.
Yep.
It's not a question of if you're going to mess up. You will mess up. You're going to drop the ball. All of us have dropped the ball. I haven't done a day perfect. Have you done a day perfect?
No.
None of us have done a day perfect. Okay. That's not
Honestly, I'll do one day perfect. I'll prep all my meals. I'll go to the gym. The next day, I don't do anything.
right. I mean,
That's just reality.
that's just reality. The thing that's different, this is what I was talking to Tara about tonight, is one of the things that helped me get successful is learning that it's not about being perfect. It's not ever about being perfect. It's about consistently giving it your best over time. It's about consistent action over time. It's never about perfection. And what a lot of people do in a very diet culture mindset is the start stop. Oh, I messed up. Okay, maybe it's Wednesday and you messed up in whatever way, quote unquote, messed up, and then you think I'll start again on Monday. That has to stop if you want to be successful. If you want to be successful, what I was saying, it doesn't matter how many times you drop the ball. What matters is how quickly you pick it up. So we have to just continue the journey. You messed up on Wednesday, fine. Thursday, you get back on plan.
I think it's just more a matter of being aware of your choices, right? So, how I was saying I could be perfect one day and maybe not the next day, I'm obviously not going to beat myself up over it, but just being aware, okay, well, I didn't hit my protein today, so tomorrow I have to plan ahead and do this to make sure I do that. It's more of like a thought process execution plan to what I could do better the next day, not like, okay, well, I ate extra this day, so I have to, do extra cardio the next day. It's just being aware of your habits on a daily basis, because you are not going to be perfect every day. You try to, right? Everyone does, but you are going to have days where you mess up, but you just say, okay, well, what caused me to not hit this goal today? So what do I need to do differently the next day to go do that? It's a healthy mindset that you need to have
Yes.
with yourself.
And that's what I do. That's what I do with my clients is I say, okay, well, we need to look at this in a neutral sense. First off, let's not make any stories about how it means we're a failure or we're not consistent or we suck or we're just not good at this or we're not cut out for this. It's a skill that gets built. So when we have a day that doesn't go quite as we planned, we need to get neutral and not take it personally and yet still have accountability. And what that means is we look at it and we look at the data. We go, okay, where did the breakdown happen? Was it because I didn't plan enough? Was it because I didn't prep my food? Was it because I didn't actually get to the grocery store yesterday? Was it because I wasn't paying attention to the time and I got behind on my water? And then what other mechanisms and systems can I put in place so that maybe tomorrow I get a little closer to that target? It's not about that perfection. It's just about that evaluation on a day-to-day basis of why did I miss this target and what do I need to fix?
Yep. For example, just like drinking water, right? I'm someone who normally drinks at least a gallon, maybe a little bit more every day, but I do have some days where maybe I only drink half a gallon of water at the end of the day. And I'm like, where the heck was the other half a gallon that I didn't drink?
Water is the hardest. Water is the
know?
hardest for me. And the thing with water is that's why I have this elaborate system with my like bag and my water bottle
And
and
I'm someone
stuff.
that carries my water bottle with me everywhere. You know
Is
what I mean? So
same
I'm
here.
doing all the stuff.
Same here. And I will forget it. I get involved in whatever I'm doing. And the next thing I know, it's 3 o'clock. And I'm like, I've only had my cup of coffee today. It happens. It happens to everyone. And in the beginning, it can be really frustrating because the learning curve sometimes, like if you're learning macros or something, it can be really high. I had a learning curve tonight with the stupid microphones. I had, oh, the I got these microphones so that we could have two of us hooked up to the conversation tonight. But then it required when they got here, they wouldn't turn on, so they needed a firmware update. So okay, we had to do that, and then I had to update my computer. Right, so we did the firmware update, but then the application went. There were all these stumbling blocks, and I tell you, there was this point where I'm like, just screw it, we're not going to do it tonight. We're not going to do it tonight because I cannot figure out these so-called simple microphones that have now absorbed 24 hours of my life to try to figure out caused me all like, and then I have to update my computer and I can't even recognize anything on my computer now. It's very, very frustrating. And this is what it can feel like at the beginning. Like everything can seem frustrating and like you're just like, screw it. Right? Screw it. But here we are, still doing the podcast using one mic. We have no idea if it's going to work or not.
It just made us close.
But it's just made us so much closer. It made us. I mean, you have to understand that this is my posing coach. So this is a woman who has looked at my ass more than anyone else in the world to make sure that it can go on a stage. And there were times in this journey, that I was frustrated with posing. So talking about like learning how to pose, you can't. I knew how to walk in heels. I'd been a dancer before, but I start to pose and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with my arms. All of a sudden you forget like you have this body and all the parts seem to be working independently and you have lost all control.
I mean, it all comes together eventually. I mean, one day it just clicks, and I've worked with so many girls at so many different levels, and I just try to make them feel as absolutely as comfortable as possible in the beginning, because I think the number one, I don't want to say complaint for lack of better words, is like, oh, I can't walk in heels or I'm not coordinated. And I mean, that's most girls. That's where most girls start. And, I don't want you to feel like it's overwhelming, and we're just going to take it step by step. I typically kind of teach the same from, beginning to a certain point. In the beginning, I'll kind of see how your learning thought process goes, how quickly you pick things up. But I cater to the girls based off of either their learning capabilities or, how quickly they pick things up. I want them to feel as comfortable as possible throughout this process, and however much time it takes for each girl, that's how much time I'm going to spend with them. And I'm going to be genuinely honest and say, you need 6 months, or they have a dancer background, and I'm going to say you're good in 3 months. You know what I mean? I mean, it just
Okay, Tara.
just
Did
a general like
was I a quick learner or a slow learner?
you're in between.
so so with me, what we just got with me, I my body's very awkward at first until my computer's now flashing at me. I have to learn things from my feet up, so I can't
Mhm.
put it all fluid together right away. So
And that's generally how I start my posing with my girls. It's all in the footwork, and that's what I teach them in the very beginning. Doesn't matter who it is. That's all. That's I don't even teach you really the poses too much first. I'm like, I just say learn the poses, but pay attention to the footwork. If you can do the footwork quickly and get that down, everything else is going to fall into place. Because if you can't get your foot or your feet angles correct, your body angles aren't going to be correct. You know?
and the point of this is that I was very uncomfortable at the beginning of learning posing. I was very uncomfortable. I felt very awkward, and the shoes are uncomfortable. But all of this to say that the more that, and learning anything's uncomfortable because we're not good at it yet. And our vulnerability shows up. And especially on that fitness journey, our vulnerability shows up, right? And what I try to encourage, what I have done for myself is to work on being really comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to let it be messy and not be good at it yet so that you can be present enough to keep taking action to actually create momentum to get better.
And another thing I want the my beginner girls to understand is, especially coming from a coach's point of view, I genuinely really enjoy having new girls as posing clients, and that doesn't discard anyone who comes in with previous experience. It's going to be a different type of appreciation for both girls, but to bring you from this kind of unconfident, quirky, and maybe uncoordinated girl to then maybe 6 months later down the road, you're on stage and you're posing your ass off and you look amazing. And my girls can vouch for this. I will literally cry in the crowd for them because I am so proud of them. And it's like, it's not I did that, it's we did that. I mean, you put in the effort. I told you to practice. You put in the hours to do that, but I completely transformed you into this. And for you to just feel so happy and confident, like, take that out, take that for what it is coming into it being new. And that's what the coach is there for. So don't feel intimidated at all, because we genuinely really enjoy seeing the growth in you guys.
So when I showed up to my first lesson with Tara, I had been working with someone else and I couldn't get it. I was just like, what? I've danced. Why can't I get this? And then I was with Tara for like 20 minutes. I was like, oh, I got it now. Like at least not all of it. I mean, like the beginning portion of it. But I was not catching it before. And a lot of it was because it just wasn't the person who was teaching me before, it just wasn't hitting, wasn't resonating. But Tara made it so made me understand it so much. And then watching my journey from my very first show, by the way, at age, when I turned 51, I think I turned 51 on the day of my first show. And watching that going from November 2022 to nationals in July of 2023, and then the difference in the posing, like so different, wouldn't you say?
Yep. And it's totally different when you're going from like a regional show to a national show. Once we're kind of at that point where we're okay, we're going for our pro card, I'm going to approach things a little bit differently. And now that you've had that stage experience and obviously just experience with posing in general, and you've been working with me during that time, now I kind of know what your body looks like at certain angles, what we can improve differently. I see how you react on stage, if you're generally nervous, if you're really excited, how your facial expressions are. I pay attention to all that kind of stuff because all those little details matter. So I know exactly what I need to tweak then moving forward. It's a lot more detail going into it.
And apparently, when I get a little pissed, my smile goes away.
Don't ever drop your
She's like, don't drop your smile. And if I hadn't allowed myself to go through the process of feeling uncomfortable and feeling like I think our original title for today was supposed to be Giraffes and Heels, but it ended up being the frustration of being a beginner with this podcast and all we've been through for it to get this one episode up. But if I hadn't allowed myself to let it be messy and to feel uncomfortable and to feel awkward and to have that vulnerability, I don't think I would not have made it to a national stage and placed third and, done what I did. And there's a whole other story in that as well. And thanks to my trainer as well. But the point of this being, and a lot of you aren't thinking about competing. So what I want you to hear is the deeper message is that beginning anything, even a fitness journey, it takes the willingness to show up, to mess up, to be vulnerable, to let it be messy and to not let it be perfect and to not let it dissuade you from continuing on.
Hmm. And I guess that kind of brings my thought process back to my experience with dance. So I was a competitive dancer for 7 years, and I try to relay some of that experience onto my girls when I'm teaching them. And it just makes me think of all the dance routines I had to go through and over and over and over and over and over and over again for an entire year for literally 3 minutes on stage. But that's what it takes to be perfect. And you would practice and mess up, practice and mess up. Nope, you need to do this. Nope, you need to do this. But if you want it bad enough, you're going to keep practicing it. And obviously you'll be good, good enough eventually to be, you know, be your best at it.
Right. And when we're talking about people who are just lifestyle, some of you are just like, I don't need to be perfect. I just want to fit in my pair of jeans. It's a lifestyle. So it isn't about being perfect. It's about who do I need to become to have the lifestyle that's going to allow me to live in a body that I really want to be able to feel comfortable in. Right. And it takes time. And all of the clients that I have had who have let it be messy and let themselves sort of stumble and fall and have just picked the ball back up and just been present. I always tell my clients we have a daily accountability in my boot camp. And I say, show up, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Show up and give us the stats for the day. And they're usually checking in about their macros, their water, whatever, working out they've done, which is scaled to whatever level someone's working at. So there's not an expectation that everybody's training at the same level, but show up even if it was just a terrible day. And the people who do the best and have the best results in the boot camp, they show up even when their days have been imperfect. And the people that have a little harder time getting going and struggling are the ones that are hiding when it's imperfect. Yes. Because they think like they want to show up and have it just be perfect. And some days it is going to be perfect, but some days it's not. And some days it's not going to be perfect for a couple days. But if you show up to that and you hold yourself accountable, you will make gains and you will learn that it doesn't take perfection. It just takes consistent action over time and to rise every day and go, okay, how am I going to hit today's targets?
I've had plenty of not so good days in the gym. It's kind of funny now that I think about it, because there have been days where I'm so excited, I'm so amped to go to the gym. I have all this energy. I'm going to go hit this weight, and for whatever reason, I just can't do it. Maybe my mentality isn't there. My body hurts. Like, something just kind of gets in the way of me not being able to hit my goal that I wanted to for that day, but I still showed up. And it is kind of frustrating when you're in that mode and you can't do it, right? But what I've actually found is the days that I don't want to go to the gym and I force myself to go, I end up having amazing workouts. And I think it's because I forced myself to go. It's like, okay, I'm here. I might as well put in the work. And you're just kind of in that mode anyway, just like, I just gotta, I don't know, get my get my feelings out or whatever. But it ends up being a great workout. And then obviously I don't regret it. Like, I've never regretted a workout that I've gone into.
Well, and I have the rule too. So maybe you do miss a workout. Just try not to make that happen 2 days in a row. Maybe you miss a target. Just try not to make that happen 2 days in a row. And seriously, if you haven't listened to the last episode on capacity, if you do find you're missing a target continually, that usually means you've placed the target a little outside of your zone of capacity. And you need to bring that target into a place where you can consistently hit it. And when you can consistently hit it, that will grow your capacity to do a little bit more. So there's no shame in saying, I've been missing this 3-liter water target every day. Let's back it down to 2 and see if
Mhm.
that's more manageable, and then get really consistent at hitting that and then start to inch it up.
Yeah.
Because we tend to do much better when we can have those little wins and feel those successes over time
Yeah.
rather than continually feeling like we're missing the mark. So if you feel like you're continually missing the mark on something, move the freaking mark.
Mhm. Yep.
And don't make a judgment on yourself. Don't make it, because this is the lifestyle you're growing into that's going to be you forever. So you got time. You
Yep.
got time to grow into it.
Yep. So that's what we're saying. Just make little goals, make it a little bit more obtainable for yourself. Um, Food in general, right? So a lot of people tend to undereat in protein. Everyone thinks that, like, oh, I have to jump on this fad diet and do all this. First thing I say to my clients is, are you eating enough protein? 99% of the time, they're not. And like I said, I don't want to overwhelm them too much with too much information in the beginning and having them feel like, you have to do A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, just get 3 liters of water in and eat your protein. I don't care what else you do. Come to the gym. That's it. And especially if you're new getting into it, that's all you need to do.
Right. And oftentimes, if I have a client and they're eating way under their protein, I won't put them up to the full protein yet, right away.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're getting 50. Let's try for 100. And we do that for a couple weeks. Now let's try to jump you up.
Well, I give them a realistic answer. I say, realistically, this is where your protein needs to be at. And for some people, maybe it's a little high. So I'll say, okay, well, we can bring it down a little bit. And as long as you still reach that, then you'll hit your goals. For protein, I'd rather aim a little higher than not, because that's your most important macro. And I think people have a hard time understanding like what to eat for that, how much to eat. So I feel like if you can get that down initially in the beginning, the rest of your food tracking is going to end up being a little bit easier. So I kind of want to knock that out of the park right away.
Right. But for some people, it is a quick jump. And for their digestion, sometimes it can be a little bit of an adjustment. So I'll give them a couple weeks. I'll be like, well, let's work our way up to like where we want ideally to be. And that's also why I put together the meal prep membership, because some people don't know how to get all that protein in. And I'm the queen of getting all that protein in and how to sneak it in. So Tara and I are going to do an episode about macros, because I know that for some people that's very mysterious. We're going to cover macros, and we're going to do also a day where we'll be in the kitchen and do some cooking, because I will show how to sneak the protein up in ways that you wouldn't even know. They're like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is do that, and I can up my protein by like 5 or 10 grams. And when you can inch it up like that meal by meal, pretty soon you're hitting your goals. And Tara's going to come on and she's going to do some recipes of hers that are going to help you understand that just because you're eating less calories doesn't mean you have to eat less volume.
Yes. And I have a lot of experience that, especially with being in prep for all my bodybuilding shows. So I have tips and tricks as far as, dieting and things that you can snack on that are literally 0 calories and still end up feeling full afterward.
And she's going to try one of my desserts tonight.
That sounds good.
Yes. And Tara, how can people, if someone is listening to this who is interested in possibly posing and doing a bikini competition, how can they get a hold of you?
So my Instagram, taraL.willard. Go ahead and shoot me a DM. Just ask any questions that, have been sitting in your mind for a while. Don't feel intimidated by any means. I do get messages here and there from girls, and they're just kind of generally interested about what the whole process is. And like I said, I love starting from the very beginning with girls and kind of giving them a full run through of kind of what to expect, and just kind of giving them the reality of what to look forward to in the next 6 months. And I think my main question that I get asked a lot from most girls is, when do I need to start posing prior to a competition? And at a minimum, I would generally say kind of whenever your prep starts, which is anywhere from 4 to 5 months. At a minimum, you girls need to be posing at least once a week, or for me, that's kind of like my rule, once a week up until the show. But for most girls, I would generally say about 6 months prior to the show, just because if you have all that time that you're prepping, or thinking, that you're going to do the show 6 months down the road, why not start earlier and have all this extra time to be as comfortable and as confident as you can be on the stage? Why would you wait until you start your prep? Why would you wait until 3 months before the show? It just, do you want to win or not? you know?
Right. And that's way ahead for some people right now. I know that are listening to this that are just even beginning a fitness journey. But that is where some of us go, that I didn't imagine that I would be competing like that. That wasn't something I had in my brain at the time. And when you start to really work within your capacity, grow your capacity, then you get to enter into discovering, what am I really capable of? How far can I take this?
But I mean, that really is the reality of it, and that's why I'm saying that, is because I mean, for me as a coach, I have high expectations for my girls. So I want to spend as much time with them as possible to make sure that you feel confident and comfortable enough to go up on the stage and loving doing the posing that you're doing. So that is really important to me. I mean, obviously you girls kind of are a reflection of me in a way, but it's more of just kind of blossoming you girls into being the best versions of yourselves. So I want enough time with you as possible to be able to do that. And I would rather start early and have more time than being rushed and have you feel stressed, I guess, being halfway through prep,
And some of
trying to
my
figure it
clients
out.
aren't even thinking about competing, and yet I do still show them some of the basics of the posing, just
Mhm.
because it does help, like, see, like, that when I stand this way with this angle, what it does to my shape, and just getting more embodied, and being able to make those shapes with your body.
And I've had girls, even like some of my training clients who aren't competing or aren't planning to do a show. They just wanted a few sessions just because they were interested in seeing, they were like, I want to be able to pose for a picture on Instagram. I want to be able to hold my body a certain way. I want to be able to get that X frame that all these girls are posing on social media. How do you do that? And yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be able to show them that and say, there's so many different angles that you could hold your body, I guess, to make you look good. But
Yeah, and then you get a picture and you're like, "Oh, that's
you're like,
me?
that's me.
I did that? Oh, man, all that was worth it. I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm glad I didn't give up." You won't The thing is, you're guaranteed to fail if you quit. So just keep going. You just keep going because you don't know what is possible, right? The only guarantee of failure is quitting. So I really want you to understand, it's okay as a beginner to be frustrated. It's okay for it to be um messy. It's okay for it to feel really hard and like you don't know what you're doing and you freaking hate it. I hated dealing with the mics tonight. And I'm going to have to sit down in front of the computer and sit down and figure it out. And I'm not looking forward to it. But that's what it takes to learn something new. That's the process. It's what it takes to learn something new. That's what it takes to get to the place you want to go. And I want all of you to get to the place you want to go. If you are interested in the Fit Goddess Bootcamp, you can look at my page on templezena.com. You can email me at zena@templezena.com. And there's a lot of different ways to work with me, but I do have the meal prep membership. If you are looking for more meal prep ideas, you can get sample meal plans, shopping guides. You can get recipes that just, well, Tara knows I'm like the queen of shoving protein in everything and it still tastes good. And
Yes, you are.
I am. And also some videos on different ways to food prep, because one way doesn't work for everybody. And then there's the boot camp, which is a 12 to 13 week program that takes you through not only your own journey with the nutrition and the training at your level, but also, and individualized to you, but there's a lot of mindset stuff in there that's really super important, and gives you an education so that you understand the principles behind fat loss, muscle building, all the things diet culture doesn't want to tell you. It is not a fad diet. It is not fast, and once you know it forever.
Mhm.
And you can go from, diet culture is going to give you that temporary fix, and the Fit Goddess Bootcamp is going to give you the fitness for life. If you take it on and you're patient and you're willing to be a beginner and learn all the things and let it be messy and keep getting up, you're going to do great. And the people in the boot camp have just had amazing results. So I really invite you to check that out. There's some other opportunities that are going to be coming up that I'll be sharing with you. But Tara, thank you for joining me. Tara's going to come
Oh,
on a more regular
that was so
basis.
fun.
We're going to do this more. We have so much more to share, and we better do more because I'm going to have to sit down and figure out these freaking mics.
No, we're gonna do more. That was good. That was good.
All right. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode.